Welcome, everybody. So what we're going to do, because there were a lot of needs for being able to connect your hosted service to Survey123 to pull data. So this is different than what we did last week. We pulled down your hosted service in that little snippet so that you could use it in Survey123. Today, what we're going to do is we have our Survey123 and we want to pull data from the hosted service. So that should be a lot of fun today. So there's a few things you have to do to get there. First is, do you want a base map in Survey123 that matches what the end user is using in a hosted service? If so, there's two steps. You need to put the base map in Survey123. And then you also need to link your hosted service in Survey123 so they match. So what ends up happening is this top schedule up here where it says your online surveys and your offline surveys, those two, that's your options. You need to decide if you're going to be online or if you're going to be offline, because there's two different flavors of what that base map looks like. And then if you're going to pull the service from the cloud, there's an extra step there. Going into all of that, once you go into Pro and you push all that into, or you publish each of those in their own ways, you're going to put them into Survey123. So today we're going to start in ArcGIS Pro. I'm going to do the version of offline surveys just because we work in Fire Footprints and it works no matter what. If you do the online services and somebody goes outside of of cell service, you're not going to get all of that. But the other thing is, pulling your data from an online service only works if you're online. So you got to kind of do a delicate balance there. You are all online most of the time. You said there might be a little place in the city maybe that doesn't have service. So when you get to that point, there might be a trigger in your Survey123 that you might say, we don't have cell service here, and we're going to do our best to put this data in, and that would be a whole different area in your Survey123, just because you now know that those aren't going to pull in automatically. If you get to that point, let me know. We can always do another training on that. So that's really all the handout for today. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work through it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to come in here. So we have this repeat family address book, and that's the one we did last week. That was part of your homework. Did anybody work on that and want to share some of their experience with us?
Michelle, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I don't know if my copy's kicked in yet or not. Do you have a link to these handouts somewhere that I'm not seeing?
The link is in the little shared folder.
Okay.
Let me click on the one that you sent out and see if that was it. Yes, that's it. Down here at the bottom, it says class handout. There's the handout, and then there's also the class files.
Okay, Is that week 3?
Yes, the week 3.
I see it, week 3. There you go. Never mind. Wait, I'll be quiet now.
It's okay. It's all good. No, that was nice, because then I could show what it looked like and what you're going to look for. So this is what our family address book looked like last week. And then for today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put text in all of this type fields that we had left open from our homework, just so that I can go forward.
Michelle?
Yes.
Can you zoom?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go. How's that? That's what we're going to use today, but we're going to go into ArcGIS Pro and work through getting the base maps going. So just so that you know, that's where we're going to be when we end up going through this. Now here's your ArcGIS Pro. Once you open that file, this is it's this AML blocks for Beaumont. Now the funny thing is, this is actually not in Beaumont when I actually grabbed that file. So what I did is I moved it. So this one for your class files is in Beaumont. It's actually in Joshua Tree because there was a lot of open space out there. So if you want, you can move this to your location so that you can play with it without zooming back and forth and doing all those wonderful things you need to do. I said I was going to work on this for the offline. I'm gonna run through go through each of the steps just so that you'll have them. So step one is we're going to do the mobile map package. So, you know, we have these wonderful grids here. If you zoom in, they actually have labels on them. And that will actually happen when you put this as your base map in Survey123. So what we're going to do is we're just going to zoom out. So what we're going to do is do our map package. So what you're going to do is come over to share. And then they've got all of these wonderful choices all over the place, and you just got to figure out which one is the one that you want. So mobile map package is right here. So you can click on this here. It's going to give you all of this information. I like to save them as a file because I'm going to put them into Survey123. It saves that step of the end user having to download them from ArcGIS Online through their Survey123. So it just kind of makes it a lot easier. This is the folder. The folder is fine, and we'll just keep that. The parts that you're going to need to know every single time. I always say, do the happy dance, but down here it says reference online content. And that's because it's going to give you the base maps and the labels and things like that. So go ahead and do that always, always, always. Otherwise, you're not gonna get what you need. Check my notes real quick. Beautiful. Do your analyze. There's no errors. That's always a good thing. Sometimes if you have a service that's in your area over here, you'll have to export that and then it'll be flattened that way and then remove it. So make your own map, probably just for base maps. That'll keep your sanity safe. You also need to know that for Survey123, the layers must be in WGS auxiliary. So keep that in mind, otherwise they just don't show up. And then we can package that. Now, I'm going to just give you a screenshot of my notes because when you're doing the vector tile package, we don't do them very often, and I didn't set this up as scalable so they don't change when you get to different scales except for that label. And then the next step is we are going to do that offline survey. And so that one there, it's so what's great about that is that's going to be clipped to a small location because what it's doing is taking a picture of it and then flattening it, and it's going to be put on your Survey123s. For that one, you're going to go to your map tab and download Basemaps. All right, so what we're looking at here are the two files that we just made. Here, I'm going to show you this because I noticed it when I closed down my attribute table. Notice what happened. It gave me exactly what I had on the screen. This is where my attribute table was. This was hidden up here in this area. So I wasn't planning on using this one for class, but I'm going to because it's good to know that this is exactly what's going to happen if you don't zoom correctly. So use your sidebars and your attribute table to ensure that you have just what you need. That's how you're going to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these files. I'm going to put them in the media folder. I'm going to see what happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to this folder. I'm just going to open it. It's not going to let me do anything. I just want to grab the link so I know where it's at. And I'm going to open it up. Okay, so here's that map package. And we're going to put that into our media folder. Map package is going to go into our media folder. I open that up just right here inside Survey123 in the file folder. It's a little too big for me to see. Media package. Just to double check what's in there. There's your map package, there's your logo. And then what we're going to do is come over here to map. Actually, since I just put it in the media folder, you need to go to updates. Click the updates, because what that does is that's going to give you that handshaking between Survey123 and the map package. That's okay. That just says that there's some rows without names. Let's see what that means. Row 10. Okay, let's try that one more time. Maybe I didn't save it after I did the texts. "29, that's okay. I need to put an end repeat in here. That's from your homework. End repeat and beginning repeat. Do you see that up there? Okay. We should be good. Save. All right. Now you can come into this map icon down here at the very bottom and go to this base map icon right here with the 4 squares. And then here's your PullData. It's called PullData Hosted Service. I didn't change the name to that. And now if I wanted to, oops, go the other way. Right now I'm in 000 to Methanol Island. It's okay. I'll just say save and come back over here. You can see it in just a moment. So, and you come over. There you go. Now you're going to be able to see all of these grids. And then when you zoom in, you're going to get to see those labels. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Michelle, from
Yeah.
that mobile map package, can you pull that data from that grid?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
That's where that hosted service comes in. We
Gotcha.
want to link the hosted service. That is our next step. We need to get your field service crew to see what they're looking at so they feel like they're getting the data they need. But really, there's just so that they can see it. There is nothing else going on here. It's a flattened version. There's no data attached to it. The next step is for the computer to go talk to that hosted service, and then they both match. Once they match, and then they click on here, then it will pull the data in. So that is our next step. Yes, that is a great question, because, and
Awesome.
that's why I made this little cheat sheet for us, because this is difficult if you don't understand what's going on. You have to have certain things in place. You have to have that base map so the end user can see it, but you also have the live data that talks to Survey123. So you're letting, you're letting all of this information show what's going on. And then this one over here is actually pulling the data. But the end user doesn't need to know any of that. They just need to know that whatever they click, that's what happens, and the magic happens behind the scene.
So what, just to add on to that real quick, Michelle, so just being part of a utility network and a utility organization, we could create a base map, mobile base map with all of our pipes, valves, fittings, all that layers, and put those in there just for reference if they need to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
That's exactly
beautiful.
what it is. It's just a
Perfect.
picture so that they feel comfortable on what they're touching. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so that was the first part. That's the easy part, getting that mobile map package into your computer. There are a few things that can happen. You can actually sideload data into a computer, but that's really for if you're in a country that doesn't have good Wi-Fi. Idris, how's your Wi-Fi out there when you guys are doing projects?
It's actually great. It's great. I'm using
Okay.
Starlink aside. Yeah. So,
Perfect. Okay, we love that. Good for Starlink. I love that.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So there is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you my notes just so that you can, if ever you need to know how to sideload things, I'm going to make this one bigger for you. So the workflow for the Apple it's very complex. So they have to use iTunes. They have to connect the device to the computer, open iTunes, do this file sharing. There's a picture of it for you. The magic is there's this little icon that's going to show up once you connect your computer. That's the most important part right here. And then it'll actually show up here. Android is here, so you're going to connect to your computer, open the File Explorer, locate the device under this PC, and then copy that file into this area. It's very cumbersome. That's legacy. For the most part, people are just going to do it the way that we're doing it here. All right, so now we're going to share a web map from ArcGIS Pro. Now, when we share the web map, that's where your hosted service data is going to come from. So we can come in here, go to share, and then share our web map. It's right there. I don't think I want to do everyone. We're going to analyze this one. And there's nothing going on, which is great. Oh, what is that? Oh, so the way that this is built, there's no unique identifiers. So if you click on this and say auto assign, it'll fix that for you really easily. Then we're going to say share. While that's sharing, I want to show you what's in the attribute table. So for the attribute table, we have block numbers, we have folio numbers, comp numbers, and then we have the data that comes with ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Pro. The coffee, it kicked, I just felt it. So as this is working, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to get that code into Survey123 so that you can do that handshaking. I'm going to put this on the other side so I can see when it actually fixes itself. All right. I didn't write the code in here because I wanted to bring it up in my other Survey123 so that you could see it. I did it in test hosting service, and this is probably the one that I gave you in your class folder. And you can check it too. You will have the blocks that we want to sync from that hosted service. I put those down here at the bottom. And if I make this smaller, you can actually see the calculations. So last week, remember, we worked on this concatenate, so that makes you feel like you remember what was going on. Right here I call it the grid JSON. And so what this is, I'm going to make this a lot smaller because we don't need all that real estate. And I'll make this bigger too. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is the grid JSON file. And what you're looking at here is PullData. We're pulling it at this layer, and we're getting the records. So the records are coming from this is the hosted service. When I posted that map yesterday, this was that hosted service. And we're going to use layer 0. So that's your first layer. And you can do whatever, whichever layer. If you have several layers, you can do that. Now, the reason we do this grid JSON before we actually pull the data is because then when we go out to that map, we're only pinging it one time and it's dropping down all that data into your Survey123. And then what we're doing is we're going to block number, or we're going to go ask the computer to go to this grid JSON, which is here. That's what we're looking at. And then we're going to grab the attributes, block number, folio number, and comp number. And if you remember, that's in our attribute table down here. Block number, folio number, and comp number. You can also look on the backside and see what that looks like. I made them exactly the same here. So the field name and the alias are the same. That just makes it easy so that we know that it's the same on both sides. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what that looks like. Do a little update. And now when I come in here, I'm going to click on where I am. Click on A square, whatever that looks like. If we want to look at what that number looks like, 14 AD, and then say go or hit the check mark. Then when you come down here, that JSON file that pinged one time is all this data. And now the block number, the folio number, and the comp number all get pulled in exactly like we expected it to. And so that is how you do that. Like I said, the base map that the end user is seeing is flat, but they don't know that. And then all this data comes in from the back end. You can do this you can do this with several different hosted services. All you have to do is change the hosted service, link right here, add the /0, most likely. And then, this is actually pulling from that geopoint that's way up here. We got it? Any questions so far?
Still honestly kind of confused versus like at layer versus the at JSON. So yeah, I'm just a little confused because I see that you pulled data at layer and then you referenced the feature service. But then the next three, 31, 32, 33, you referenced at JSON versus at layer.
Got it. Thank you. I needed to figure that part. I needed to get to there.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the at JSON, you can do every single one of these can be at layer. It's going to ping the service 3 different times. Yes, so this one at the top. Thank you. I needed to get there. Yes, so the reason for that first grid JSON is you want to pull that data one time. And so that's where that all the data comes in right here.
So it's basically just a less taxing method to pull in the data versus hitting it 3 times versus just 1 time. I get it.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate
You are
that.
welcome. And so you could use, if you had 3 different layers, you probably would just, and you only needed 1 piece of information from each layer. You could use this top one for each of those. But say you have 3 layers and you have, 3 records you're pulling from each one. Do you want to ping it 9 times opposed to 3 times? So yes. Good question. Thank you. Yes, very taxing if you've got a lot of those. Do you want to play with it and let me know if it works for you? And then your homework is to find a hosted service that you have, link it to your Survey123, and also grab a couple of those attributes and see if you can pull those down. And then now that we've finished that was a lot of information, but I've given you all the codes, so it's very gentle. And I will figure out where that file went when I downloaded it so that we can have that. Does anybody have questions on your homework that you did last week?
No, but we did find, Julie found the code for the uppercase and lowercase function, and we think that was really cool just to figure that piece out. And it's serving 2 functions, so you're limiting the uppercase or lowercase, and then you're also constraining the amount of characters it's allowed. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice little shortcut because you don't have to do it in multiple like field length and all that stuff. So that was a cool little function we picked up on. So cool little tidbits, and that's what it's all about for us. And really like this whole base map publishing because that's really what we're going to be utilizing a lot of the time, custom base maps for specific applications. So that was a really good lesson. So thank you.
You are so welcome. Yeah, when learning all of this is, you know, it's great when you have some kind of a baseline, because then when you're kind of learning these new things, you go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like this downloading a base map that I was just doing. I've needed that before, but somebody told me, because, and here's a little bit of information on your end users. They don't know what they don't know. And sometimes they don't know how to tell you what they need, because maybe you're not. So I had a concussion 2 years ago. Sometimes things just didn't resonate the right way. So I had a survey and the end users were saying, hey, Michelle, we can't see the base map. Can we see the base map? And so I'm publishing this little map package thinking that they can see it. And so I'm just going on my merry way thinking that they have it, but they're offline. And so they can't see it. And they just figured that I got busy and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But in my right mind, I would have turned on my airplane mode and figured out that it didn't show, but I couldn't connect those dots. So you got it now that I know what I'm talking about, or I can kind of figure out what I'm doing. It's interesting how I see things differently. Like I tell people, I healed my Survey123 trauma twice because I did it 7 years ago, and then I had to do it again in 2 years ago. And so it's been an interesting learning experience for me, because I saw things like you see things twice, and I didn't really remember the first time, because I guess that's too much trauma. But you know, as I've been growing in the last 2 years, I see things differently. I used to just spew things on people, kind of like that week one. I just spewed all that information on you. You weren't ready for that yet. It's still in our class files if you need to see that. Maybe revisit it when we finish, and you'll go, oh, now I understand. So we've slowed it down, and we're still, you know, I still work on things, but I will always find the answer for you. So I hope that helps out.
Hi, Michelle. I do have a question about the offline base maps.
Mhm.
Is that step where you download the map from the offline section of the map tab necessary to be offline?
If you're going to show them the grids like this one here, it won't show up. The reference layer, I'm going to go into let me find out for you, because I didn't think
there was
so.
a step where you go and you hit download map to take it offline or something.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if that's a necessary